and we can start with Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama,
You can do remaining.
Okay. Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, dear Pranjay, for the wonderful Kirtan. Hare Krishna, Pranam dear devotees. So welcome to our Srimad Bhagavatam daily reading session. So we will begin with the last session's quiz results. So these are the results. Number one is Atul Prabhu with 4930 points, which is very consistent. And then is Anshi Mataji with 4770 points. Anupama Seni Mataji, third position, and then Pinky Mataji, at fourth position. So let us refresh again. Yeah. So let us begin with our session for today. नमो ओम विष्णु पदाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वते देवे गौरवाणी चारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी दाश्चाशेषकर्णे वाञ्छा कल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्येव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tado Jayamudire Nashtraprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavati Sevaya Bhagavate Nityam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nishtiki Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai. There is disturbance in the verse. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Yes, Prabhuji, lots of disturbance
Okay.
at my end. Rest I maybe clear,
Yes.
clear for us.
There is a disturbance. Others as well. Let me check.
How's it now? Hare Krishna.
Better. Better.
Okay. So we are reading from first Canto, 5th chapter, text number 25 from today. उच्छिष्टलेपान् अनुमोदितो द्विजय सकृत् स्म भुञ्जे तत् अपाश्त किल्बिषाः एवं प्रविष्टस्य विशुद्ध चेतसस् तद्धर्म एवात्मरुचि प्रजायते. Okay. Synonyms. Uchishtilepan, the remnants of foodstuff. Anumodita, being permitted. Vijay, by the Vedantist Brahmanas. Sakrit, once upon a time. Sma, in the past. Vijay, took. Tat, by that action. Apast, eliminated. Kilbisha, all sins. Evam, thus. Pravrittasya, being engaged. Vishuddha Chetasa, of one whose mind is purified, that particular dharma, nature, eva, certainty, atmaruchi, transcendental attraction, rajayate, was manifested. Once only, by their permission, I took the remnants of their food, and by doing so, all my sins were at once eradicated. Thus, being engaged, I became purified in heart, and at that time, the very nature of the transcendentalist became attractive to me. Purport. Purport and translation by Srila Prabhupada. Pure devotion is as much infectious in good sense as infectious diseases. A pure devotee is cleared from all kinds of sins. The personality of Godhead is the purest entity, and unless one is equally pure from the infection of material qualities, one cannot be a pure devotee. The Bhakti Vedantas is mentioned above were pure devotees, and the boy became infected with their qualities of purity by their association and by eating once the remnants of the foodstuff taken by them. Such remnants may be taken even without permission of the pure devotees. There are sometimes pseudo devotees, and one should be very much cautious about them. There are many things which hinder one from entering devotional service, but by the association of pure devotees, all these obstacles are removed. The neophyte devotees become practically enriched with the transcendental qualities of the pure devotees, which means attraction of the personality of Godhead's name, fame, qualities, pastimes, etc. Infection of the qualities of the pure devotees means to imbibe the taste of pure devotion always in the transcendental activities of the personality of God. The transcendental taste at once makes all material things distasteful. Therefore, a pure devotee is not at all attracted by material activities. After the elimination of all sins or obstacles on the path of devotional service, one can become attracted, one can have steadiness, and one can have perfect taste. One can have transcendental emotions, and at that last, one can be situated on the plane of loving service of the Lord. All these stages develop by the association of pure devotees, and that is the purport of this stanza. So I was hearing proper lecture on this same very verse. This जैसे यहाँ पे इसमें आता है about infection. So Prabhupada said that this kind of infection we should have. so infection of pure devotion. So and that infection, जैसे कि in a normal disease also it happens that when you come in contact with some infectious person who's having some contagious disease, you get that infection as soon as you come in contact with that person. Similar is the case with devotees as well. Devotion or this Krishna consciousness is so contagious or infectious that as soon as we come in contact with the pure devotee, with the devotee, and then we get infected, and we should be hankering for that kind of infection. और जैसे यहाँ पे लिखा है, the infection of a qualities of a pure devotee means to imbibe the taste of pure devotion always in the transcendental activities of the personality of Godhead. और लास्ट में देखिए प्रभुपाद कह रहे हैं that all these things can only happen when we are in the association of devotees. So that is why we give so much stress in the association. That we associate with devotees, and we have 6 kind of exchanges: Dadati, Pratikarnati, Guhyam, Akhyati, Prechati, Bhungte, Bhajaita, Cheva, Shadvikram, Piti, Laksha. And association means having those exchanges, and step by step these stages will come. That when we associate with these transcendentalists, for example, Bhakti Vedantas. Right? So, and one of the very nice association that we can always have is of Prabhupada, of Srila Prabhupada, when we hear Prabhupada lectures and when we read Prabhupada books. So reading Prabhupada books and hearing Prabhupada lectures is also association. And we are associating with the pure devotee of the Lord, directly with the pure devotee of the Lord, and the Bhakti Vedanta. So further, all these shlokas are all gems and wonderful shlokas, and Prabhupada has given multivarious lectures on these shlokas, and we all can go back and hear his lectures. Tatranvaham Krishna Katha Pragayatam Anugrahena Ashanavam Mahahara Tah Shraddhaya Me Anupadam Vrishanvata Priya Shavasi Angamama Abhavatruchi. So, Anubhava Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Synonyms: Tatra, thereupon; Anu, every day; Aham, I; Krishna Katha, narration of Lord Krishna activities; Pragyatam, describing; Anugrahena, by causeless mercy; Ashanavam, giving oral reception; Manahara, attractive; those; Shraddhaya, respectfully; me, unto me; Anupadam, every step; Vishranvata, hearing attentively; Priyas Pravashi, of the personality of Godhead; Ang, O Vyasdev; Mam, mine; Abhavat, it so become; Ruchi, taste. Translation: O Vyasdev, in that association and by the mercy of those great Vedantists, I could hear them describe the attractive activities of Lord Krishna, and thus, listening attentively, my taste for hearing of the personality of Godhead increased at every step. Purport: Lord Shri Krishna, the absolute personality of Godhead, is attractive not only in his personal features, but also in his transcendental activities. It is so because the absolute is absolute by his name, fame, form, pastime, entourage, paraphernalia, etc. The Lord descends to this material world out of his causeless mercy and displays his various transcendental pastime as a human being, so that human being attracted towards him become able to go back to Godhead. Men are naturally apt to hear histories and narrations of various personalities performing mundane activities without knowing that by such association one simply wastes valuable time and also become addicted to the 3 qualities of mundane nature. Instead of wasting time, one can get spiritual success by turning his attention to the transcendental pastime of the Lord. By hearing the narration of the pastime of the Lord, one contacts directly the personality of Godhead, and as explained before, by hearing about the personality of Godhead from within, all accumulated sin of the mundane creature are clear. Thus become cleared of all sins. The hearer gradually becomes liberated from mundane association and become attracted to the features of the Lord. Narad Muni has just explained this by his personal experience. The whole idea is that simply by hearing about Lord's pastime, one can become one of the association of the Lord. Narad Muni has eternal life, unlimited knowledge, and unfathom bliss, and he can travel all over the material and spiritual world without restriction. One can attain to the highest perfection of life simply by attentive hearing of the transcendental pastime of the Lord from the right sources, as Sri Narad heard them from the pure devotee, Bhakti Vedantas, in his previous life. This process of hearing in the association of the devotees is specially recommended in the age of quarrel.
Yes. तो जैसे हमने लास्ट में पढ़ा था कि that association is very important. And so what do we mean by association? Association means that we associate with somebody senior, and what do we do in that association? That we hear Krishna Katha in that association. Not that we take our own mundane topics and discuss with them, but we hear Krishna Katha with them. Shushushu Shraddadhanasya Vasudeve Katha Ruchi. And जैसे इसमें श्लोक में भी आया कि अनुग्रहेण श्रवणम मनोहरा, giving oral reception. I could hear them describing the attractive activities of Lord Krishna. So that is needed. And उसके बाद होगा क्या? And if we are hearing attentive, और कैसे ही सुनना है? We have to hear attentively, listening attentively. And what happens when we listen attentively? That our taste for hearing more increases. So whether we are hearing it in a right way or not, the way to test is that whether our own ruchi or our own taste in hearing more and more is increasing or not. So this is one of the self tests that we can do. And जैसे बहुत पपट में कितनी बार बोला प्रभुपाद ने that the whole idea is simply by hearing, और लास्ट बीच में भी बोल रहे हैं और लास्ट में भी कह रहे हैं the process of hearing in the association of devotees is especially recommended in this age of like that. Still Meenakshi Mataji.
हरे कृष्ण प्रभु जी आप श्लोक पढ़ सकते हैं, उसके बाद मैं स्टार्ट.
तस्मिंस्तथा लब्धा रुचिर्महामते प्रिया शवसी अखिलादितामतिर्मम यया हमेतत् सदसत्स्वमायया पश्ये मयि ब्राह्मणी कल्पितं परे.
हरे कृष्ण. Tasman, it's been so that at that time Labadha achieved ruchi, taste, mahamate, O great sage, Shrivasi, onto the Lord, asklatih mataha, uninterrupted attention, mama, mine, yaha, by which, aham, I, etat, all these, sat, asat, gross and subtle, maya, just, sorry.
Hare Krishna. I think Mataji dropped.
Mataji is left, I think.
Mataji's back.
Hare Krishna. Sorry, Prabhuji. Just get disconnected. Can I read now
Yes.
from same point? Okay. From
Yes.
translation. O great sage, as soon as I got a taste of personality of Godhead, my attention to hearing of a Lord was unflinching. And as my taste developed, I could realize that it was the only in my ignorance that I have accepted gross and subtle covering for both the Lord and I are the transcendental purport. Ignorance in material existence is compared to the darkness, and in all Vedic literature, the personality of Godhead is compared to the sun. Wherever there is a light, cannot be a darkness. Hearing of a Lord's pastime is itself a transcendental association with the Lord, because there is no difference between Lord and his transcendental pastime. To become associated with the supreme light is to be dissipate all ignorance. By ignorance only, the conditioned soul wrongly think that both he and the Lord are the product of material nature. But in fact, the personality of Godhead and the living entity are transcendental. They have nothing to do with the material nature. When ignorance is removed, it is it is perfectly realized that there is nothing existing without the personality of Godhead, that the nescience is removed. Since the gross and the subtle bodies are emanating from the personality of Godhead, the knowledge of light is permitted one to engage both of them in the service of the Lord. The gross body should be engaged in the act of rendering a service to the Lord, as in bringing water, cleaning the temple, or making obeisances, etc. The path of archa, or of worshipping the Lord in a temple, involves engaging one gross body in a service of a Lord. Similarly, the subtle mind should be engaged in hearing, transcendental pastime of a Lord, thinking about them, chanting his name, etc. All such activities are transcendental. None of the gross or subtle senses should be otherwise be engaged. Such realization of a transcendental activities is made possible by many years of a apprenticeship in the devotional service. But simple attraction of a love for a personality of Godhead, as it was developed in Amnarad Muni by hearing, is highly effective. Hare Krishna.
Yes. So, and what happens like when we hear attentively within the association of devotees about Krishna Katha is that the taste develops and the ignorance is removed. So, removing of ignorance, this is starting with Prabhupada कह रहे हैं, it is like coming to light from darkness. Krishna Surya Sama, Mayar and कृष्ण सूर्य समा मायर अंधकार जहाँ कृष्ण तहाँ नहीं मायर अधिकार. Like Krishna is like sun and Maya is like darkness. Wherever there is Krishna, there is no what do we say? There is no Maya, there is no darkness. Or and the souls who wrongly think that even the Lord also is the product of material nature. जैसे भगवद गीता में भी आता है अवजानन्ति माम मूढ़ा मानुषम तनुमाश्रिता. They wrongly think like that. And but the whole gist of this is like removal of ignorance means engaging in our constitutional position. And what is that? Like Jivera Swarup Hoye Nityere Krishna Das. And Das means service, rendering service, devotional service. And जैसे यहाँ पे ऊपर ने बताया that we can engage ourselves in the service of God, which we are already trying to do. Jैसे the gross body and subtle body both can be engaged in service of God. Okay, Shivani.
Hare Krishna. Itam sarat pravrakshika ritu harer vishranvato me anusavyayam yashomal amalam sankirtanayamanam munibhir mahatmabhir bhakti pravrattam rachastamopaha itham the sarat autumn pravrakshiku rainy season ritu 2 seasons
Harer of the Lord, Vishravata, continuously hearing me, myself, Anusavayam, constantly, Yasaha Amalam, unadulterated glories, Sankirtayamanam, chanted by Munibhi, the great sages, Mahatmabhi, great souls, Bhakti, devotional service, Pravrittaha, began to flow, Atma, living entities, Raja, made of passion, Tama, mode of ignorance, Upaha, vanishing. Translation. These during two seasons, the rainy season and autumn, I had the opportunity to hear these great souled sages constantly chant the unadulterated glories of the Lord Hari. As the flow of my devotional service began, the coverings of mode of passion and ignorance vanished. Purport. Transcendental loving service for the Supreme Lord is the natural inclination of every living being. The instinct is dormant in everyone, but due to the association of material nature, the mode of passion and ignorance cover this from time immemorial. If by the grace of the Lord and the great soul devotees of the Lord, a living being become fortunate enough to associate with unadulterated devotees of the Lord and get a chance to hear the unadulterated glories of the Lord, certainly the flow of devotional service take place like the flow of a river. As the river flows on till she reaches the sea, similarly, pure devotional service flows by association of pure devotees till it reaches the ultimate goal, namely transcendental love of God. Such a flow of devotional service cannot stop. On the contrary, it increases more and more without limitation. The flow of devotional service is so potent that any onlooker also become liberated from the influence of mode of passion and ignorance. These two qualities of the nature are thus removed, and the living being is liberated, being situated in his original position.
So the purport itself is so amazing. Nothing feels like getting. Namrasita Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. तस्यैवं मे अनुपर्तस्य हत्येन स श्रद्धा दान बालस्य दानतस्यानुचरस्य च तस्य his evam thus me mine anuraktasya attached to them prashritasya obediently hat freed from hinasa sin Shraddha dhanasya of the faithful, balasya of the boy, dhantasya subjugated, anucharasya strictly following the instructions. Cha and I was very much attached to those sages. I was gentle in behavior, and all my sins were eradicated in their service. In my heart, I had strong faith in them. I had subjugated the senses, and I was strictly following them with body and mind. Purport. These are the necessary qualifications of a prospective candidate who can expect to be elevated to the position of a pure, unadulterated devotee. Such a candidate must always seek the association of pure devotees. One should not be misled by a pseudo devotee. He himself must be plain and gentle to receive the instructions of such a pure devotee. A pure devotee is simply completely surrendered soul unto the personality of Godhead. He knows the personality of Godhead as the supreme proprietor and all others as his servitors. And by the association of pure devotees only, one can get rid of all sins accumulated by mundane association. A neophyte devotee must faithfully serve the pure devotee, and he should be very much obedient and strictly follow the instructions. These are the signs of a devotee who is determined to achieve success, even in the existing duration of life.
So Narad Muni, as a Charya, he is telling that how we should try to conduct ourselves. Like we should be very much attached to those who are such bhakti vedantas, or those who are these pure devotees. And we should be gentle in behavior. That means that we should be humbly and accepting, receiving the instructions of those who are whom we are trying to follow. And even if there are any questions, we should be asking humbly, and we should have strong faith in them. So this comes multiple number of times in Srimad Bhagavatam. Shraddha Dhanasya. जैसे उससे पहले भी आया था, सेकंड चैप्टर में आया था, शुश्रूष श्रद्धा धानस्य वासुदेव कथानिच. तो यहाँ भी वही आया. I had strong faith in them and subjugating the senses and strictly following what they are saying with body and mind. So strictly following means what Prabhupada said about the four regulative principles, and we don't have to invent anything ourselves, anything new. Everything is given to us, simply plain, and we simply have to do that. So these are the signs of devotee who is determined to achieve success, even in the existing duration of life. So, last. Okay. Vrindavan Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Jnanam guhyatam yat sakshat bhagavatoditam anvavochan gamishyant tatrupyadi vatsala. Jnanam, knowledge, guhyatamam, most confidential, yat, with what is that, sakshat, directly, bhagavata uditam, propounded by the Lord himself, Anvavochan gave instruction, Kamishyanta while departing from, Triptya by causeless mercy, Deen Vatsala, those who are very kind to the poor and needy. Translation. As they were leaving, those Bhakti Vedantas who are very kind to poor-hearted souls instructed me in that most confidential subject which is instructed by the personality of Godhead himself. Purport. A pure Vedantist or Bhakti Vedant instructs followers exactly according to the instructions of the Lord himself. The personality of Godhead, both in the Bhagavad Gita and in all other scriptures, has definitely instructed men to follow the Lord only. The Lord is the creator, maintainer, and annihilator of everything. The whole manifested creation is existing by his will, and by his will, when the whole show is finished, he will remain in his eternal abode with all his paraphernalia. Before the creation, he was there in the eternal abode, and after the annihilation, he will continue to remain. He is not, therefore, one of the created beings. He is transcendental. In the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says that long before the instruction was imparted to Arjun, the same was instructed to the sun god. And in course of time, the same instruction being wrongly handled, broken, was again instructed to Arjun because he was his perfect devotee and friend. Therefore, the instruction of the Lord can be understood by the devotees only and no one else. The impersonalist who has no idea of the transcendental form of the Lord cannot understand this most confidential message of the Lord. The expression most confidential is significant here because knowledge of devotional service is far, far above knowledge of impersonal Brahman. Jnanam means ordinary knowledge or any branch of knowledge. This knowledge develops up to the knowledge of impersonal Brahman. Above this, when it is partially mixed with devotion, such knowledge develops to knowledge of Paramatma or all-pervading Godhead. This is more confidential, but when such knowledge is turned into pure devotional service and the confidential part of transcendental knowledge is attained, it is called the most confidential knowledge. This most confidential knowledge was imparted by the Lord to Brahma, Arjun, Buddha, etc.
Thank you so much. close our session here. So if there are any comments, I would think that if anybody wants to add anything, we have Nakshi Mataji, Vidhan Prabhu, the other members, with that. If anybody wants to add. Okay. So no questions or comments, so we will end the session here. Namo Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale, Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Charya, Nirvishesha Shunyavani Paschate Vishudaya, Pancha Kalpataru Vesta, Vipasindhu Bhayacham, Vikam Bhava, Vishnu. Rudracham Bhagavatam Ki Jai, Jai Guru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for joining. We will meet tomorrow. Same time, same place.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.